Good evening, Californians. It's Friday night, June 18th, and the eve of new holiday, Juneteenth, 2021. And this is Red Star Report. Voices for the California nation. Let's talk recall. I'll begin tonight by admitting I was wrong. I'm a big boy. I've grown up, and I'm not afraid to say I do make mistakes. And I have to tell you, this one was huge. I claimed in a Red Star report a few weeks ago that this California governor recall is a stupid waste of time. And it's going to cost Californians $100 million. Yeah, I was totally wrong. This California governor recall is a monumentally stupid waste of time, and is now going to cost Californians over $215 million. But let's face it, this whole shit show recall Newsom thing was, shall we say, just more trumped up politics right from the start. Because even though the gamesmanship and corruption of the recall campaign stinks with large amounts of out-of-state money, and it only exists because of an unprecedented 2 extensions, with one of those extensions granted by for an unbelievably long 5-month period, coming from ultra-conservative Sacramento Superior Court Judge James P. Arguelles, who was not only a friend and former business partner of Bradley Benbrook, who is a Recall Newsom campaign board member and the lawyer who filed the extension request, but is also, in case you need clarification, it's probably not a coincidence that Judge Arguelles was also one of Trump's last U.S. District Court nominees, who lost his nomination when Trump lost the 2020 election, but who can say that had anything to do with anything, right? Even with all that, Republican election officials actually had the nerve to look surprised as Democrats unveiled their own recall twist last week of a new legislation allowing the Newsom recall to be held as early as August 24th. You see, conservatives have urged Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis, who will choose the date of the election, not to schedule it before mid-September to allow them to get organized, saying, "We urge the Lieutenant Governor's office to take our concerns seriously, which will allow us to conduct a successful election process, and we owe this to our voters." I guess the irony here is lost on conservatives who need to obscure or deny that the purpose of the Recall Newsom campaign was to subvert time and money from California's progressive agenda and disenfranchise the wishes of California's voters in the first place, who elected Newsom by a landslide in the last election. But those are details. Anyway, under state law, Kounalakis has some discretion, but must select a date no sooner than 60 days and no later than 80 days after the recall is certified by California's Secretary of State, Shirley Weber. The proposed law was introduced to speed up the recall election to capitalize on Newsom's relatively strong job approval ratings as COVID-19 conditions have improved, and make it more difficult for recall candidates to organize, of course. And now, from freak show candidates to political carnival games, the circus monkeys of this three-ring stupid are going to do nothing for the major issues like drought and homelessness that California really needs to solve anyway. And it all happened because California right-wing extremists, anti-vaxxers, and general maggots were desperate to shift the blame from Trump's pitiful effort to respond to the COVID pandemic anyway. So, let me ruin this book for you. It took 2 special extensions and a full fucking year to gather the signatures for a recall that normally should have had 4 months max. There's no big wave of angry California voters here, just the usual suspects spouting the same tired, butthurt conservative bullshit of guns, gays, God, racism, and tax cuts. The stuff that Californians basically already reject. Don't believe me? Go to the Recall Newsom website. Look under reasons for recall. Other than a bit about Newsom's French Laundry dinner and railing against the COVID lockdowns, which I guess Republicans had a super double secret plan for not lockdown that wasn't basically open it all up and just let 500,000 Californians die. The recall platform is basically a retread of the 2018 John Cox party platform. The same party platform, like I said, that pushed Republicans to the edge of extinction in California anyway. So, newsflash. Most Californians would still prefer that this stupidity stop before the state has to pay out hundreds of millions of dollars to deal with a phony recall campaign based on a guy going to dinner and made up by Trump collaborating QAnon adherents, anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers who are being funded by out-of-state right-wing super PACs or worse. Russian operatives and front organizations. What do I know? Look, I do almost feel sorry for the revolting people who are mad that COVID took away their favorite donut shop, but these disgruntled Trump Republicans are trying to game California's system with a recall so a couple 100,000 extremists can disenfranchise millions of California voters and preempt a regular election cycle that's just 16 months away. As a Californian, see this recall for what it is. This is part of the new American fascist right-wing model. A rejection of democracy and an undermining of California's election legitimacy. Where the California values of justice and consent of the governed don't apply anymore. And if we let these losers get away with this, they'll try this every time their candidate loses. California is better than this. Californians are better than this. And this bullshit should have no future in a free and independent California nation. That's Voices for a California Nation. I'm sorry to announce that due to technical issues, Activism in Action with Shankar Singham won't be seen tonight. But Shankar is following up on an assignment and will return shortly. So now, a Red Star special video short. It's time for Talking Points. This week's COVID update. California state officials announced Thursday afternoon that 2 days after the economy was reopened, 40 million plus doses have been administered. California's high vaccination rates have reduced the risk of outbreaks, with wide reopenings as new cases and deaths continue to plummet. An LA Times analysis shows almost 60% of Californians have received at least one dose. And in recent weeks, California has reported some of the lowest virus transmission rates in North America. Again, as opposed to Texas, of course, where only 46% of the state has received at least one dose, or Florida, who say they've actually improved at 48% of residents having now received one shot. This is California relaxes coronavirus-related workplace safety rules, and as California moves to end physical distancing requirements for all workers and allow most fully vaccinated employees in many workplaces to stop wearing masks. Workplaces will still require masks for workers who are not vaccinated for COVID-19 and make sure they wear them while indoors or in shared workplaces, vehicles, or employer-provided transportation. Unvaccinated workers generally will be able to take off their masks indoors only if they're alone or eating or drinking. Also, starting Tuesday, coronavirus-related capacity restrictions and physical distancing requirements were lifted for the general public at almost all businesses and other institutions. Residents who are fully vaccinated for COVID-19 can now go without face masks in most non-work situations. Unvaccinated individuals, however, are still required to mask up in indoor settings, and everyone, regardless of inoculation status, has to wear a face covering while in transit hubs or taking public transportation, in healthcare settings and long-term care facilities, indoors at K-12 schools, child care facilities or other youth settings, in homeless shelters, emergency shelters, and cooling centers, and in prisons and detention centers. Talking point. Turns out some Californians aren't eager to shed masks just yet. As California reopens, Californians are remembering that over 63,000 Californians are actually dead due to the pandemic. And many Californians still feel the reopening is premature until California's vaccination rate reaches the 70% threshold as prescribed by the CDC. That as many Californians wonder if this reopening is a case of political expediency and capitalist profit margins, possibly outweighing the actual public safety concerns as the Newsom recall looms on the near horizon. So, California fully reopened Tuesday, and with that, residents were able to go into public places without masks. Some did. But many Californians decided to keep their masks on. A reminder, in case we needed it, that many Californians would rather make their own decisions, rather than having a loudly vocal small group tell them how it really should be. Californians. The work towards California independence has value. There's a question Californians need to ask that goes, what's the downside of efforts to empower California democracy over the U.S. bureaucracy as we fight for California independence? Other than failure, anyway. For the moment, it's an honest question. Why do so many people that Californians don't vote for have the ability to force their bullshit agendas on the day-to-day lives of Californians? All of it's in the light that California, even under drought and in a homeless crisis, remains a donor state, so our own full resources are not really ours to control. This week, Missouri, a state with the fourth highest gun violence per capita rate in the U.S., passed a state law nullifying all federal gun laws, including taxation, registration, concealed carry, and waiting periods. Restrictions, while an untouchable Trump collaborating NRA puppet federal judge in San Diego wrote a 100-ish page blathering idiots ruling overthrowing California's 30-year-old assault rifle ban. In Texas, anti-Roe v. Wade legislation and voting rights suppression laws are battling to see which can get signed, implemented, and then Supreme Court challenged first, both of which have legal impact for Californians. In Florida, if you think that's stupid, hold my beer, governor issued a blanket pardon for all COVID-19 quarantine violations while lifting lockdowns on public events and tourist attractions, even as Florida's infection rates remain high and vaccination rates lag behind U.S. averages, ensuring the possibility of yet another Florida-based holiday travel super spreader event. Here in California, wildfire warnings are going up as rising temperatures due to climate change combined with large areas of overgrown federal wilderness lands undermanaged by a grossly underfunded U.S. Forestry Service under the Trump administration. A Trump administration that executive order canceled California's recently re-granted air quality exemption, basically on a spiteful whim. I could go on. But the point is that all these things work against actual California values. They're complications California doesn't need and are initiated outside of the control of Californians. Talking point. The work towards California independence has value, no matter how long it takes. Empowering California democracy improves the lives of Californians, whether or not the United States falls into further decline or not. More control of California by Californians must be a goal of the California independence movement. The California independence movement tends to align itself with a number of organizations inside of California that promote individual rights and social justice issues. This makes sense. Californians in general tend to politically align themselves a bit left of center, and that may be an understatement. But I'll leave it right there for now. The reason the movement does this is that solidarity with like-minded people on issues, even when we are looking to D.C. rather than Sacramento, helps to grow the movement and define a portion of what we hope a free and independent California will look like. These organizations being aligned with California values even when the U.S. ignores them. Regardless of the issues, local control here within California is sometimes the best possible chance for what is right for the people of California. And honestly, for those who argue a poor opinion of California's government, this truth remains. Even if California's elected officials fuck things up or become corrupt, they were at least elected by Californians in the first place. Think about it. This is Talking Points. That's it for this week. Check out our website, www.redstarreport.com. Transcripts of Talking Points will be posted there. Also, be sure to subscribe to our Red Star Report YouTube channel. Go find our Red Star Report Facebook page, Twitter accounts, Instagram, etc., etc., etc. As I always say, if you want a real California independence movement media group, it's all about the algorithms. Our thanks to you and all our Red Star Rebels for watching. Have a great weekend. We are Red Star Report.